Hello, my name is Sarah Newhouse, and I'm the digital archivist in the Drexel University Archives. In this video, I'm going to explain how archives are organized and why that matters. The most important thing to know is that archives group historical materials into collections according to who created or donated them. This is because we believe that historical context is incredibly valuable, and so we want to preserve as much of archival documents' original context as possible. Context is important because the value or interpretation of a document can be very different depending on who created or kept it. If we don't group materials by creator or donor, then you lose that context and part of the value of a document. Imagine how differently you might interpret a flyer for an anti-war protest in the papers of a pacifist activist versus the papers of a staunch supporter of the military. Context is also important because the documents in a collection can contain information that help you interpret other documents in the same collection. For example, if that flyer for an anti-war protest was in a collection of a pacifist activist's records, you might be able to guess that they attended or were interested in attending the protest. But other materials in the collection can change your interpretation of that flyer if the materials are kept together so that researchers can encounter them together. A letter from another activist decrying the protest because of internal politics among anti-war groups would place the poster in a different light. So would police arrest paperwork indicating that the activist was arrested at the demonstration. If archivists separated all documents when they arrived in the archives, researchers would lose the ability to make connections like these. We also organize materials by creator or donor because we believe in letting the documents and their creators speak for themselves as much as possible. And one way to do that is to interfere with the historical materials as little as possible. So we like to keep records that came in together, grouped together in collections, rather than separated or spread out by an archivist. But archives usually do have to arrange or reorganize materials just a little bit before researchers can access them. This is called processing. Sometimes we receive collections that are in the exact same order their creator kept them in, and they're organized and clean and easy to look through. In this case, we wouldn't do much processing at all. But sometimes we process collections because they can arrive in the archives in states of disarray and disorder. Just because a university department cleaned out their filing cabinets and sent their records to the archives doesn't mean those records arrive in the same order they had in those filing cabinets. Often collections come into the archives in trash bags, in desk drawers dumped into boxes, or in other states that make it hard to find things. So, archivists will try to find out what order the records were kept in originally, and then arrange the collection to reflect that order if possible. This is because, again, we believe the original context of documents matters, and that you can learn a lot about a person or an organization based on how they organized their materials. Imagine what you could learn about an author's creative process based on how they organized their rough drafts, or what you could tell about a politician based on how they kept their correspondence with their constituents. When we process a collection, we arrange it intellectually and often physically into groups of similar records that we call series. These series can reflect groupings of materials by type, by subject, by date, by who created them, by function, and many other factors. For example, this online collection inventory shows you the records of Drexel's Evening College, which is now the Goodwin College of Professional Studies. It contains groups, or series, of administrative records, reports, and curriculum materials. All of this means that when you're trying to find information in an archival collection, it can be helpful to ask yourself questions that will encourage you to think about the record's context. Questions like, who or what group might have created documents that contain information about my topic? Who or what group might have collected documents that contain information about my topic? What kinds of documents might contain information about my topic? And when would my topic have been documented? These questions will help you narrow in on a collection that could be useful and help you quickly decide if the collection has the kinds of documents that you need. For example, if you're looking for information about an engineering professor who taught at Drexel, you can make the reasonable assumption that the engineering department probably created documents containing information about her. The kinds of documents likely to contain information about the professor could include personnel or HR records, syllabi she created, and maybe minutes from meetings that she attended or ran. Looking at the online collection inventory, the series in the engineering department collection, which are listed on the right, can tell you right off the bat that there really aren't any groups of materials in this collection that contain HR or personnel records. But there are series that could contain syllabi or information about the courses she taught, like Series 3, Academic Program Materials. And Series 4, Meeting Minutes, might contain information about her if she attended any meetings that are documented in those materials. For more information about how to use these online collection guides, please watch another of our tutorials called How to Navigate Archives. And keep in mind that each collection is described differently. A collection description may not contain information specific enough for you to decide that a collection is or is not worth your time, or it may just be confusing. In that situation, consult your friendly neighborhood archivist with any questions. The guidelines in this presentation are just a quick overview of how understanding collection organization can help you find things in the archives. We're always happy to explain how our collections are organized or where we think you could look to answer your specific research questions.